sopping wet in a rented tux.
All right, welcome back to Podcast the Hero. Rody is unexpectedly unavailable this week, so I scrounged up these assholes to fill in. Cornman, the Lord Guitar Horse, or Guitarzan, or how, I don't know, just, you know, you guys know who he is, Clip Clop.
Okay.
And I know people hate these episodes. Like, literally, there have been people in the comments that say, like, how can we make the podcast better? And they said, less episodes without Rody.
That's fair.
That hurts. But we're doing one, because we need to put out an episode this week. So, you know, I looked for a blonde wig to maybe look more like Rody, and people would like it better, but I couldn't get a blonde wig on short notice.
Dude, honestly, I'm not fully convinced you guys aren't just the same person. You're identical.
Oh my God. What if that were true?
You guys look identical. I've
What if
never
that were...
I've never seen you both in the same place at the same time.
We have the exact same nose, for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Just giant fucking thing. This episode is brought to you by Cornbot. I think you all know that Cornbot is a little thing that you put your feet in and it eats your corns. Yep. It's also brought to you by absolutely the best podcast, A Work in Progress. Very humble fellows. Also, Rody is jealous of how organized they are compared to the slipshod way we do our show. I keep trying to make the show more structured, but my brain is dumb, and I can't be bothered to listen to other podcasts for tips. Just really want to say, like, what I want this podcast to be is a call-in show. I want to take phone calls for love song requests. You know what I mean? Do you remember that? Like, back in the day, and they would like
Delilah?
It would be like sexy time, late night.
Yeah.
It'd be like, Ronnie, Elaine wants you to know how much she loves those tight buns of yours. Here's Baby Got Back. And then it plays Baby Got Back, and it's like all sexy, like pillow talk.
Right.
Right? That's what I want this to be. Rody won't let me do it.
Rody's not here, but we can do whatever the fuck we want.
It's also brought to you by our patrons. Here's the list. I saw some things in Discord that made me very scared about this list. So here I'm going to just go. Absolutely the best podcast, Work in Progress. A magnitude of buttholes. Ashwin, Brett Voss Blackwood, Butthole, High Tops, Anti-Human, Rody Loves My Dink, the sentient fart that also lives in the beanbag chair that is conspiring with the rat to create their own podcast. Fat Brown Kid. What happened to Rose M. Fields from Omaha? No more stolen sisters. Zach, AE Common Thread, A Perfectly Smooth Scrotum, Dave the Film Guy, Deconomist, Dimitri Timpod, The Picklecast Sack, Fire Fee, Foolish Bale, Mitch, Progtoff, Slinky Dink Condoms, the slinkiest condom yet. Spitgoth, Yuri, A Squirrel Presenting as Human by Means of Stolen Flesh, Aaron MFJ, Allie, Benjamin, Bob, Bud the Crud from the Bright Red Mud, Butthole, Come to think of it, I think red pandas are dumb. I learned how to say this one, Dale Earnshart. They reached out and let me know this is what I'm going for. I've tried to learn PTH on the guitar. Now I have arthritis. Thanks. Is only a Patreon subscriber because they want more uncensored video of Fritzy's stompers. Jake, Jeffrey, Yo, Josh, KH Pandas, Mason, Michael, Peggy Throw, Roscoe, Sebastodon. Sorry I've been busy. Taylor, TBJ, The Final Dan, Thomas, Viva Hate, Yes I Be a Newfoundlander, By and Zane. There was a lot of people who changed their name to Butthole.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to be all Butthole. Let's look at how many I just want to see how many free people, because we don't do the free names, but let's see how many. Only two. Only 2 free subscribers changed their name to Butthole. But yeah. Anyway, that's the patrons, and we're forever indebted to the patrons. They're the ones that make all of this possible.
Thank you, patrons.
Corn and the Cornbot have nothing to do with this podcast being successful. Protest the Hero news. I'm sticking to the formula. If you aren't paying attention to social media, Rody teased this last week, but Protest announced a drummer for the new record. Nathan Bulla of Architects and Auras renown. What do you guys think? It's a good pick.
I'm pumped.
I mean, yeah. From the listened to a little bit of Architects.
Yeah.
They're solid.
Yeah,
they're solid. And I saw that clip they posted online.
Yeah,
looks promising.
I feel like drums just easy. Anybody could do it.
Yeah, literally,
especially like prog drums. Like
that's a pretty uncontroversial take. I feel like.
Yeah,
there's nothing to it.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, it just is like hit drums randomly.
Yeah,
and it'll all fit eventually.
Right. Any dipshit with any.
Yeah.
Like
number of limbs.
Any
number of limbs.
One short leg.
Yeah.
It's
the
fine.
dude from Def Leppard is fine.
Right. Yeah, you don't even need limbs to play drums. You don't
need limbs to play drums. It's just like essentially you could just hit a pad.
You barely need a heartbeat
MIDI controller. Yeah. Drums are important.
Reminder that drums in like the 80s.
Yeah, I have like an Alesis drum machine from like the late 90s somewhere in my house.
Yeah, that's when all the music became good.
Yeah, drum machines. Yeah, programmed drums make everything better.
Right.
They should eliminate all drummers.
Yeah, get the fucking pizza guy out of there.
Yeah, all gone. Goodbye. PTH is heading out on tour with BT Bam. There are tickets available. Buy those tickets. Support your favorite band. Go see them live. Meet other fans of the podcast, fans of the band, people that you've talked to in Discord. Go get your tickets and go see them live. I don't care if it's like an hour and a half away or 3 hours away, or if you're in Texas, 14 hours away. Like, go to the fucking shows, buy tickets, and help these guys keep doing what they do. New music. Are you guys familiar with the band Pet Symmetry? I'm going to guess you're not. No. So they're kind of like a sort of pop punk, fourth wave emo kind of band. Anyway, I didn't know who they were until just before the pandemic. I went to see the Get Up Kids play in the hottest venue I had been in to date. It was a nightmare how hot inside this venue it was. And this band opened for the Get Up Kids, and they played their set wearing matching Pet Symmetry Letterman jackets. Like, you know those fucking jackets with like the leather sleeves and the cuff, and like they played their whole set in this venue that had to be 110 degrees inside. Everybody's dying, and they're wearing these fucking jackets playing fucking punk rock songs. And I fell in love with them, and they have a new EP out now. So if you're into pop punk, emo kind of stuff, check out Pet Symmetry. Their new EP is out. And I say that it was the hottest venue to date because the hottest show I've ever been to was Protest the Hero in Detroit, when the sweat was dripping from the ceiling and people were passing out, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That shit was crazy. It was too much.
Yeah.
It was too much.
Now, both of you are wearing Dream Theater stuff. Is there a new Dream Theater record out?
There is, actually.
When did it come out? Yesterday?
No, was it last month?
Yeah, early March, I thought.
Now, do they have keyboards on this album?
They do have keyboards.
Lots.
They
Plenty.
do.
Yeah.
Did they get the one keyboard guy to come and play keyboards?
You mean the permanent member of the band, Jordan Brutus?
Yeah.
Yes, he did play a little
He
bit
did
of
play the keyboards on that album?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just curious. Did they get a drummer or did they program it all?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they have a drummer, but I didn't watch him record it, so I don't know.
Now, before we get into this, let me walk back a bit of what I was saying about drummers.
What was that? What is there a specific drummer that you really like?
Well, I'm a little bit partial. I'm a big Mike Portnoy fan. He's kind of great. He's pretty good.
We don't talk about prog on this podcast almost at all. Yeah. For being a prog metal band, Protest, Rody and I very rarely talk about prog music, and obviously Dream Theater is sort of like at the top of that list. Have you guys gone to see Dream Theater live?
Yeah.
You've seen them? Is that where you got your hat?
That is where I got my hat. Yes, I saw them in Rochester a month or so ago. It was real fun.
Oh, boy.
They put on a great show.
What? It was. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. Does Petrucci do a lot of like scissor kicks and stuff like that?
Not enough.
He runs around and does like leaps and stuff, and I don't know.
They could have more acrobatics in the show for sure.
They could?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, this episode today is about dogs. That's what we're coming to talk about. Specifically a Life Embossed. We wanted to talk about this song. I love this song, and Corn, you were like, I have very specific things to say about this song. I would very much like to attend this and say these things, which is great. So this is sort of a dog-focused thing. We'll give a little shout to Porter with Love also. But just kind of wanted to talk about this song, the song itself, and the message in the lyrics, and some of the response to the song. So the first thing I'll just say off the top is, according to Rody, the band does not plan to play a Life Embossed live ever again. He said the last show on Volition X was the last time they're going to play that song live. I don't know how much I trust that, but that's what he said.
What was his reasoning?
He thinks everybody hates it. Like fans. He's convinced that fans hate it. He thinks that it takes all the energy out of a room. Like essentially, as soon as they start playing it, everybody's like, "Oh, I'll go get some merch now." And that the band doesn't particularly enjoy performing it either because it's extremely technical. I have a different theory about why. I think it's the lead riff is like sort of the thematic riff through the song is very halting. You're sort of used to Protest playing sort of extended arpeggios, and this song doesn't have that. It's sort of like it's got that and it's halting and it's hard for people to stick with. And I think that might be the deal with A Life Embossed. But
yeah, it's tricky playing stop time riffs at 1,000 beats a minute.
Right, yeah. And Protest uses all the notes. Every single one. I'm pretty sure like every song they're just playing the notes in order on the fretboard from like E through E, like just go in order. Do. It's all chromatic. I'm pretty sure. I don't know anything about music.
That sounds right.
Yeah. I think people also This is like 50-50. A lot of people, I was reading about the song online and just getting reactions and stuff, and a lot of people very critical of the lyrics. Not necessarily of the message, but just that like the lyrics are too on the nose. And I don't know. I think that the topic of A Life Embossed, people are like, I miss Riffy's lyrics. Well, this is a very different thing, with a very different intention, at least for me. So, I'll stop there. I have more, but I want to hear what you guys think about A Life Embossed. Is it the worst protest song?
Well, no, it's a fantastic protest song. It's a fantastic song in general. I can definitely see why it maybe wouldn't be like the best song to perform live, especially like it is hard. But I don't necessarily buy that like fans hate it. But yeah, it's a great song. I think it's fantastic all the way through. If you don't like this song, you don't like dogs. Let's just throw that out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. If you don't like A Life Embossed, you are a dog abuser.
Yes.
I'm just going to say it right now. Like, you have physically abused a dog before.
Right.
It should be put down.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You hear that, Michael Vick?
Yeah. 100%. Like, I don't know. Like, I spend a lot of time on my Twitch stream. I'm doing my self-promotion here. I never do this, but I do stream on Twitch. And we spend a considerable amount of time watching videos that Bluest of Sky posts in my Discord. It just seems like he's the one that posts all the videos. And they're mostly We Rate Dogs videos. And so we'll spend 2 hours just watching videos of the top 10 dogs of the week and all just sitting around going, we don't deserve dogs. Humans are shit and dogs are the best. I think like it's hard to understand people who would not like this song who are dog people. I don't think there are any people that are like that. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
Yeah.
what? I mean, Fritzum, you did some research. I don't think any of us did our homework. What are why do people hate the lyrics? What's wrong with the lyrics?
So I think that mostly people are saying that, like, people say that it's too on the nose, right? They're like, you could have this, but maybe like couch it in some sort of metaphor, right? Like they're looking for a little more whimsy in the lyrics. And my take on it is like, I think we've had this discussion many times. There's two types of protest fans, like metal fans that like protest and punk rock fans that like protest, and you come from one side or the other.
Very true.
I think you would be very hard pressed to find a propaganda fan that goes, fuck the borders too on the nose. You know what I mean? Like, this song is very specific, standing for a very specific political perspective and point of view. And like, it doesn't make sense that like, oh no, it's too on the nose. Like, no, why? Like, punk songs are that. They're on the nose. They're saying a thing very specifically. You don't need to couch it in metaphor. And so I think that's something that people miss.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
but the one thing though to that is that if Protest is a prog band, I mean you have to assume that every prog band is like all the lyrics are just laced with thick metaphor and wizards and whatever.
That's true.
So like you kind of want some artistic imagery, I think, from lyrics in general when it comes to prog.
And I think that's like definitely not Rody's sensibility.
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and also like made a whole record about that, right?
That's I mean, 100%. I mean, it also isn't like, I feel like that's the point of this particular song, right? Like it's intended to be like specific call out of a particular injustice that is very emotional in itself. Like Rody is very angry on this song very clearly, and this is what he's angry about. And if like that's very punk. I think that's also very metal, and I think that's something we should all be able to get behind.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree.
All right. So I like.
So it's just Guitarzan who thinks it should be more whimsical. It should be about unicorns. It should be about how the evil king banned unicorns, but not Pegasus, because unicorns are
Dude,
right.
every prog song should be about fucking Pegasus. I don't care. No, I want to know the legit, like what is this song specifically about? I know it's related to dogs.
It's essentially against, yes. So thank you. I think you set this up very well, but it's about breed specific laws. Essentially, Ontario had, I don't know if they're still in place in Ontario or not, but Ontario had passed breed specific laws banning pit bulls and bully breed dogs on the basis of them being too dangerous to the public. And so it was illegal to own a bully breed in Ontario, which there are breed specific laws all over the world, all over the United States. There are plenty of places you can go in the U.S. where it is illegal to own a pit bull or any pit bull type breed, any bully breed. And really it's about the misinformation that's used to pass these laws, right? This false notion that pit bulls are the most dangerous dog there is, and that like they're dangerous to humanity and blah 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 blah. When pit bulls are not the most dangerous dog breeds, there are many other breeds that have far more incidents of bites, far more incidents of killing people than pit bulls.
But no other dog breeds can actually get jacked and look like China.
Sure they can.
And look like China from WWE, dude.
Pit bulls can look like that, but other breeds definitely can, and have much worse temperaments than pit bulls and are much more violent just in their nature. In fact, like the most common dog bite breed is like golden retrievers.
What?
Yeah.
Old Yeller.
Yeah. So, since 2016, there have been 83 different dog breeds involved in dog bite related deaths in the United States. So 83 different breeds. And the more people also, just so you know, more people die in the United States each year by double from bug bites than from dog attacks. And so, and there's also a growing study that breed-specific legislation is rooted deeply in racial bias. That it's targeting specific communities of color and classes of people that would typically have dogs like pit bulls. And so the breed-specific legislation is really targeting those communities and not necessarily, it doesn't have to be, it would be whatever breed is popular in that community would be targeted. So there's a lot of stuff there. It's a lot. I'm of an age where I grew up in the 80s where in the summertime, in the morning, I left the house and I was gone and my parents didn't know where I was. And this is, 11 years old, left my house and my parents would at nighttime standing on the front porch, yelling my name into the night to come home for dinner. Right. That's the culture I lived in. Like today, like if you let your child out of your sight for 15 seconds, it's like a crime, right? And so how that became the sort of state of our world is the rise of the 24-hour news cycle and cable news, and the essentially the rise of fear mongering, where now you have far fewer like child abductions or something like that today than you did when I was a kid, but they're reported on far more. So it looks like the numbers are much higher, right? So when you have this bias, right, you rarely ever see anything in the media about a dog attack unless that dog is a pit bull, right? You don't see like, oh, this person was attacked by 3 chihuahuas, or this person was attacked by a husky, right? It's only when it's pit bulls is what you see in the media. And so you have this media bias for this fear mongering that is that drives a lot of people's fear in the community to go like, oh my God, pit bulls are so dangerous. I mean, just look on the news. Every time you look on the news, anytime there's a dog attack, it's a pit bull. These dogs are so dangerous. But if they actually reported the real statistics, like people would be like, my golden retriever? I shouldn't have shouldn't have my labs? What do you mean? But I love them. They're so sweet to me, right? But that's not the case. So you have a lot of bias. And so that's essentially what it is. There are also some pretty significant correlations or parallels going on to our current political environment in this song, which I think are great, and I'll get to in a little bit. But that's essentially what A Life Embossed is it's Rody saying breed-specific laws are reprehensible, immoral, they're based on misinformation, and if a pit bull's a weapon, you'll have to pry him from my cold dead hands.
That's kind of a weird mental image, though.
Prying your pit bull from your dead hands?
Yeah, corpse gripping a
yeah, that is really
terrifying dog.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
I used to have a cat, and I used to pick him up and go like this, and he would go. There's a kitty. I had a little kitty gun that I used to pick up and make him be. That's a pit bull. Yeah. Could you imagine just somebody like reaching in their pockets and just throwing pit bulls at you?
Yeah.
Hurling pit bulls at you?
How large would this person be?
Oh, gigantic.
Just a 50-foot tall lunatic.
Just a 50-foot tall giant with cargo pants pockets full of pit bulls.
Shucking dogs. Yeah, I was actually, I put on a bite suit one time, or a bite sleeve.
Yeah.
And got bit by what was it? A bull terrier, I think is what it was. Mm-hmm. So in the same sort of of ballpark.
Yep.
And they are scary. I will say I love dogs. I'm a proud pit bull owner. I've owned pit bulls, and they're great. They're the best. But this was the first time in my life when this dog, because it was a trained, a trained dog.
Yeah.
I was so scared. I was so scared for the first time ever. And that thing, even with the bite sleeve on, which weighed like 30 pounds on my arm, it felt like a car door.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like that's a huge part of it, right? Is training.
Yeah.
And the responsibility of dog owners to properly train their dogs. And, I don't think there's an inherentness in violence in dogs that's like, that's breed specific. I don't think that exists. And I think a lot of that has to do with just environment, like nature versus nurture. I don't know. What do you think, Corn?
Well, I think that's kind of the core of the debate around a lot of this breed-specific, I guess, whether it's legislature or just bias in general,
Yeah.
is, I think you definitely approach it of like a nature versus nurture argument. I mean, I agree. I don't necessarily believe that like any particular breed is inherently prone to be more violent than others. But there's also, a common argument that we hear is, hereditary. Oh, this has been bred into these dogs, which I also don't think is true. I mean, I have like one of my dogs that I've got right now is half pity, and she's the sweetest dog. I mean, she does have that strength in her. We're on a walk and something upsets her, and she wants to pull in that direction. Like it's right there, and she's still pretty young. So definitely, they left, whether it's not trained properly or maybe intentionally trained in a more aggressive manner, that can be problematic and that can be, scary. I would also say that lots of things are scary, and that just because some instances of something can be scary doesn't mean that the whole thing is bad. And, from like I think if you're talking about breeds and dogs, then definitely owners need to have a lot more accountability and culpability in some of those cases, especially. Like I know if my dog was ever to attack anybody or anything for any reason, I would definitely feel personally responsible, for that, and be thinking about, well, how did I, as an owner, like kind of allow that to happen, versus not blaming the dog for something that clearly wasn't necessarily their fault. So I think that's part of the challenge here, though, is how do you see that, right? Is do you believe that there is that inherentness there or not?
Yeah.
And one thing I think you touched on that I think Rody touches on that I think is important is the like relative danger of dogs versus literally anything else that is out there. And I mean, being American and not to make everything about guns, but to make it about guns, is I do find it a bit bullshit that there is a still continuing argument about whether or not we should allow people to have certain breeds of dogs when we continue to allow people to have guns and then use them on each other. That to me seems way more dangerous than policing, what kind of dog somebody can own. And I know there's elements of A Life Embossed where Rody calls it out very directly, that maybe where some of the on the noseness comes from, I think, is some of that criticism, but I think is if you don't say the quiet part out loud, it never gets acknowledged.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. I mean, I think that is very true. I mean, we live in a culture where, just about anybody can get a gun. But like there are far more kids injured in school shootings every year than there are by dog bites. Far more in the United States. And it's ridiculous that that's the case. And if we're talking about things that banning things that are potentially dangerous, right? How are we not banning, cars, right? Like how many thousands of Americans die every year in car accidents, but we still drive them? How many, right? There's so many different ways that people get injured or killed, and dogs are like at the bottom of the list. It's like shark bites, hit by lightning, dog. You know what I mean? It's like it's way at the bottom. Why are we doing this? It's ridiculous.
I will say though, I've never seen a gun shake a toddler.
Well, that's because it doesn't need to. It just goes right through.
Yeah. I've never seen a pit bull go into a school and eat 12 children either.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Guns are the dogs of America. There are dogs. There are new dogs.
One of the things I wanted to touch on a little bit is there is there's a line in A Life Embossed, or a series of lines that says, like, with a different target every decade or so, right? We're talking about breed specific legislation. What's the new target? It was pit bulls, then it's like, you know, Staffordshire Terriers, then it's like, okay, you can wait until they break into your home, right? Repeat the lies you've bought and sold and say you should look up the facts when you should look up the facts your fucking self, or you could stand for a dog that's not your own because your own damn dog is next, right? There is a huge parallel to what is going on in this country in terms of politics and human rights and the masses sitting by while other people's rights are being stripped from them and going, well, better them than me, or what can I do? And you can say that until they come knocking at your door. And, Propaganda just put out a new record and has a little section that goes, better them than me rolls so seductively off your tongue, your reckoning has begun. Like, this is how, in the death of a democracy, how these things happen, right? It's people standing on the side, feeling safe because they're currently part of an in-group, but eventually everyone becomes an enemy, and eventually somebody is coming for all of us. And so, like, stand up for the people that are having their rights taken away now to make sure that your rights aren't taken away later. It speaks to a lot of what's going on sort of in our world today, even though the song's, 11, 12 years old at this point. And very specifically about dogs, but it applies in a lot of places, right? There's historical context to race relations in America. There's so many different things in which the way breed-specific legislation correlates with so many things that have happened that are in general today thought of as immoral or repugnant, but yet we still do it because it's dogs and not people. And it's very strange to me, at least. I don't know.
There are lots of parallels that can be drawn, for sure.
Yeah.
For
and
sure.
I think
if it's, at like topical sort of political or so, like social hot button issue, there's going to be all those parallels drawn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot. So it's relatable. It helps make it relatable.
And so I think that a little bit goes against like the whole notion like, oh, it's too on the nose or whatever. Like, a lot of the way Rody writes is it's sort of very specific about like an event or whatever, but he chooses those things, those topics very specifically in the way that they represent broader things. I don't know that there was any of that in this, but I can definitely see that there are much more broad parallels.
Maybe that's that big proggy metaphor that I was looking for.
Yeah,
the dog thing is a metaphor for everything else.
The pit bull.
The dog thing is a metaphor for race relations in North America during the turn of the 20th century.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just I don't know, and I really just love the song, right? Like, if it wasn't in the record, like, there would be like this weird gap where it should live.
It's a great song.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't
know. I'm pretty sure I'm on record or on this podcast in a previous episode by linking some of the instrumental parts and some of the riffs in this song to things that later showed up in Pacific Myth and then in From the Sky. So I do think it's also, and the story of Volition across the album, where it's very influential with some of the later music that Protest made. But wow, Fritzum, wow.
Susan doesn't know when not to call.
But no, it's a great song, and everybody should listen to it more.
I think you're right, and that kind of goes into what I wanted to talk a little bit about. To Porter with Love. To Porter with Love was written during the Scurrilous sessions, and if you guys aren't aware of To Porter with Love, check it out. You can find it on YouTube. It's an instrumental track that was added as a bonus track for the Japanese release of Scurrilous. And I mean, it makes sense that it's not on Scurrilous, because musically it's a departure. It feels much more like Volition and even into Pacific Myth than it did with Scurrilous. It felt like they were already moving forward at that point in some of the progression of their songwriting and technique and things like that in To Porter with Love. If you're not also clued in it, To Porter with Love, Porter was Julius Buddy's studio dog. So he did the first three Protest major releases, so Keziah, Fortress, and Scurrilous. And so Porter was the dog that was in the studio with them all day, every day, everything. And so when they were making this track, they dedicated it to Porter, Julius's studio dog. And so that's how it fits in with this topic. But it is a very interesting composition musically. Obviously, Rody hates it because there's no words. We know the only thing he cares about is the singing parts. He doesn't care about the music stuff. So, but as an instrumental track, it's really great. And it's what's that sort of instrumental proggy band, Scale the Summit?
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of people like in comments about it going, "Oh, Protest the Summit, Scale the Hero." Like this sounds very Scale the Summit sort of. I mean, I think it's a really great song, and I think it definitely shows where they were headed and like where they were specifically at that point in time in the way they were writing and composing and constructing songs. It's like a nice little foreshadow to what's going to come next for them. So yeah, that was my take on it. I don't know if you guys have listened to it recently. I listened to it a bunch.
About a half an hour before getting on here was the first time I ever listened to it. Yeah. So I just heard it for the first time before this. It's solid. It's a solid song. I like it that because that album specifically is like my favorite Protest album.
I love that. It's your favorite.
Yeah, Scurrilous rules. And so I had never heard the song until just a little bit ago. And it's like, yeah, compared to the rest of the album, it's a little, like I could see why maybe they wouldn't have put it on there, but I do appreciate it because it's, oddly enough, I don't know if I think of like what a PTH instrumental song would be like, I think it would be, a lot of real busy guitar work and odd times and stuff like that. But this one, it seems like they really like let the sections breathe. Like they like it was a real kind of, even though it is a busy song and has a lot of like fun guitar work and the odd timey stuff. It still has like, there's a space to it. There's like a vibe to it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I like the key that they picked too, because it's like I couldn't really tell it. I didn't have like a guitar handy to figure it out, but it sounds like a nice just Lydian
Yeah.
Lydian sort of a mode, which is like the Rush free will sort of a sound. So it's proggy in that sense. But like, yeah, I like it. It's a good one.
Fritzy, do you know if this song was intended to be an instrumental when it was written?
I don't know.
Because I think it sounds like it was. And I think that's part of what you're picking up on, right? Is that like so much of their regular music, like they know Rody's going to lay vocals onto it and provide that extra element. But in this case, like the melody has to come from the instrumental. And I think this song more than any really shows the range that Protest has as an artistic like musical group, you know, because it's not like they are able to make music that isn't just, you know, kind of time shifty prog. We're going to take you to 3 different places. This is kind of just a more up and down, straightforward ride. There's definitely prog elements to it. Like it is Protest. It's there. But I do really appreciate how, you know, melodic they're able to make it through the guitars and even on the drums by bringing more of those kind of punk elements in versus just, you know, kind of pulling out some, I guess, more of the more metal elements to keep the melody going.
Yeah. I don't know if they had intended it. I know like there are a lot of people who are like, oh, if this had been on Scurrilous, this would have been my favorite song on the record, right? There are people that are like, why would you not put this on, you know? And I think like the answer is like Japan always wants something extra because it's so easy for people to import music into Japan that there's no real reason to buy a Japanese version of a record unless there's something extra on it. And so the Japanese distribution people always want like a little bonus track or something extra on their releases. And so they needed something for the Japan release, and this was what they had, I guess. But I don't know, you know, where in the process, like it was like, oh, we wrote the music for this, and was there ever the intention that Rody was going to write lyrics to it? Maybe, or maybe they didn't get that far, or maybe it was decided at some point that like, okay, yeah, we have this thing, but it doesn't really fit with the rest of the record, and we're not going to put it on the record. But hey, for Japan, we could throw this thing on there. But yeah, I mean, it definitely is a different musical sound than the rest of the album. But it's really good. I like it quite a bit.
I'm looking at the YouTube comments on the song, and many of them are 10, 12, 13 years old, which is great. I assume many of these opinions hold up today. But I am seeing that there's like some critiques about not having Rody's vocals means the song is missing like that crescendo at the end, right, where he always brings like an emotional peak. And I can definitely see that, like that isn't really here, but I don't think that like you have to have that in order to have a good Protest song. Or I think it can speak for itself, and I mean, I do think it would have been good on the album, but I definitely see too, it does sound very different than everything else, and maybe it's a good thing it was left off if that would take away from the masterpiece that is The Unending Reign of Terror, you know?
Correct. The other thing about it is like Protest doesn't really write for instrumentals. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's super annoying.
They expect there to be vocals on their tracks. You know what I mean? So there are bands that are instrumental bands who write music for not having vocals. And so they're used to like, if the vocal is what's providing that crescendo at the end of a track, like an instrumental band knows, okay, we have a different method of providing that musically, whether it's with the guitars or the drums or whatever we're doing in the composition to do that, to evoke that thing. And I think Protest is very used to, like, we have vocals on all our songs. We're not an instrumental band. And so the vocal plays a very important role in how the composition is structured, I think. So it would make sense that like, oh, it doesn't have that thing. Well, right, it doesn't have that thing. It's like, well, how come this song doesn't have any bass? Well, the bass player didn't play on it. You know what I mean? It's like, what?
It's missing an instrument.
Yeah, exactly.
I do think. No, you go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. All right. I was just gonna say, like, it is a song that makes me wish that the boys would dabble a bit more in instrumental territory.
Sure.
Like, I love all the songs, and I love Rody. Like, but there is, that kind of shows a different sort of an element that kind of it's a bit more, it seems a bit adventurous, and I like stuff like that. I like it to be a little, the stuff that's a little bit,
yeah,
kind of pushing your own boundaries a little bit.
Well, I mean, Luke, what the hell are you doing with all your time?
It's a Dream Theater method.
Right.
You've got most of the album is what it is. You've got an instrumental song, and then you've got a 22-minute epic that ends it. And then, that's the perfect recipe for a prog album. I don't know why more people don't do it.
Yeah.
No one gets tired after that much music.
No.
I have a game for us to play.
Ooh.
Is it a fun game?
I mean, I think it kind of is. It's called Why Is This Dog Famous? And I'm going to tell you the name of the dog, and you're going to tell me why that dog is famous, and you get a bonus point if you can tell me what breed the dog is. All right? So I'm going to start with an easy one. So Rin Tin Tin. Why is Rin Tin Tin famous?
Who are you asking? Are you asking
Both of you. Either one of you.
Do we have to buzz in?
No, you can both answer. You can both get points, or one of you can get points for getting it right, and the other one can get points for getting it wrong. You can agree with each other. It's a team effort.
Well,
I can get points for getting it wrong. That sounds fun.
Okay. You can get points for getting it wrong. That works.
Well, Rin Tin Tin is the famous canine cop from the, I was really young. So probably late 80s, early 90s is from when I remember seeing the show on TV. And he was a German Shepherd.
That is correct. German Shepherd.
I was close. I was thinking it was a cartoon dog, but I knew it was from TV.
And he was rescued. Rin Tin Tin was rescued from a World War I battlefield and turned into a movie star.
The actual dog?
The actual dog. The actual Rin Tin Tin. The very first one.
Is that the story of his character too? Because that's amazing. That should be the movie.
Yeah, I think probably. Okay, next one. Laika.
Laika went to space.
Laika did go to space. But Laika wasn't the first animal in space.
That's true.
Laika was the first animal to orbit the Earth. Laika was a Russian street dog, possibly part husky, possibly part terrier. Nobody really knows. But Laika was the first animal to orbit the Earth inside Sputnik 2.
That's so good.
Next one, Scooby-Doo.
I'm sorry, that makes me laugh just thinking about like scooping up a dog off the street and shoving him in a rocket.
Shoving it in a thing and going, enjoy.
We're going to space.
Yeah.
Who's a good boy?
Right. Because the dog has no idea what's happening.
No idea what's going on.
It's just like, what the fuck? I'm in space. I don't know. Sorry, that made me laugh.
It's all right. No, it's good. It's funny. Scooby-Doo. What's Scooby-Doo famous for?
Scooby-Doo's the real-life detective dog that exists. For real.
For real. I have a very specific answer to this.
I don't even know what kind of dog Scooby is.
He's a Scooby dog. That's his breed.
No, he has a specific breed.
He's a Scooby.
Scooby-Doo is famous for smoking weed on TV, Because you know that dog and Shaggy were smoking hella weed, and he's a Great Dane. Scooby-Doo is a Great Dane. Great Dane. Balto. Do you know who Balto was?
Balto was I want to say mushing dog. Didn't he save everybody and get into medicine? I watched that movie as a kid. I know what happened.
You got it.
Yeah.
Balto was a husky who famously saved the town of Nome, Alaska from a diphtheria outbreak by mushing, 500 miles or something to get the medicine to fight the diphtheria, and brought it back and saved Nome, Alaska.
Isn't that the inspiration for the Iditarod?
I think it is, yes. Also, I learned in researching this that diphtheria is not a toilet disease. Diphtheria to me always sounded like something that would get you have the diarrheas, but it's a like nose and throat thing. And essentially, diphtheria gets real bad. It blocks your airways and you suffocate.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. But I always thought it was like diphtheria is like, I got a bad case of diphtheria.
Yeah.
I'm going to be on the toilet for 72 hours. Okay.
So I just
Pluto.
looked it up, actually. I was wrong just before people write in. I think what Balto is true, except that wasn't actually the inspiration for the Iditarod. Wikipedia explicitly says that's incorrect, which means a lot of people thought that.
Okay, good. I'm glad I thought it too. Okay, Pluto.
Planet.
Yeah.
Not planet. Not a planet. Do you know what kind of dog Pluto is?
Fucking.
Like a Labrador?
He's a bloodhound.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Big floppy ears.
He's also famous for being Mickey's slave. And here's how I know this. Because Goofy is also a dog. And Goofy is Mickey's friend, right? They hang out, whatever. So in the Disney universe, dogs and mice and ducks and whatever all exist on the same level. So the fact that Mickey Mouse also owns a dog means that he's essentially owning a person.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
That is crazy. Disney is evil.
Yeah.
Disney is pure evil.
How about the dog Doug? Are you guys aware of a dog named Doug?
Is that from the HBO show?
No.
I think I had an old weed dealer with a dog named Doug, but I don't fucking know what movie.
When I was
from.
looking up famous dogs, Doug the Pug came up. Apparently, Doug the Pug is a famous social media celebrity pug.
How do we feel about pugs?
I like pugs. Jenny actually met Doug the Pug once in person.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know how. She did.
Are pugs like bulldogs in that they can't actually breathe because of years of inbreeding? Yeah. That's not great.
Yeah. Sandwiches.
Oh, it's TBJ's dog.
Yeah. That's also a pug. Sandwiches is TBJ's dog. I put Sandwiches is famous for being a Twitch star.
It checks out.
And then Stuart/Stella. These are two dogs that played the same role. Any thoughts?
No.
I thought it was funny because Stuart was a boy dog, Stella was a girl dog, and they both played Cheddar the Corgi from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, who is famous for stealing a wristwatch in the Halloween heist. So, But yeah, they had
Also
3 different cheddars.
Also for making Amy blow her cover while hiding in the bathroom.
That's correct. That is correct. So who won?
We all won because of dogs.
Because we played. We all won because we played.
Yeah.
We all won because of dogs.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the real prize.
I mean, I think that's the other thing. Like, on the whole dog front, like, humans don't deserve dogs. Dogs are incredible. And every day I am amazed at how smart dogs are. And smarter than we give them any credit for being. I just see stuff all the time in the world of just how smart and kind and loyal and loving dogs are. And it just blows my mind that we exist on the same planet. And that, like, for me personally, I see my dog every day and I'm like, dude, it's fucking cool that this little fuzzy creature lives in my house. How fucking rad is that?
Yeah.
And she's always excited to see me.
Right.
Not like most of the people I know who are like, oh, fuck. And that's what makes dogs so great.
Listen, adopting a dog is a weird experience where you, like, we got both of our dogs are shelter dogs, but like you just kind of go and like I want that one, and then you just sign some paperwork, and then you just take it home, and they just let you do that. They just have a dog in your house. You that's it. That's the end of the process.
Yep.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's great.
I don't know. I think dogs owe us one.
You do?
Yeah.
They owe us one.
They watched our young in the past, and they
you know what, they were wild animals. They had to hunt for themselves, and then they just sort of buddied up with us and started eating our garbage, and then like being cute. And so we took them in. We give them a great life, comfy furniture to sneak up on top of when we're not home, scraps of turkey sandwiches.
Dogs don't deserve us.
They owe us one.
How do they pay us back?
Yeah, I don't know.
How do they get even?
I ask my dogs that every day. My dogs don't pay for shit. Like, they haven't paid rent ever.
No.
Like, I will grant that. It is, at least in modern times, it is an imbalanced relationship. But you know what? You come home and they wag their tail and they look at you with puppy dog eyes, and then you realize that you've been conned this whole time, and they're way smarter than you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So smart. So smart. Yeah. I feel like I have a hard time trusting people who don't like dogs. Do you know what I mean? Like, you come across me like, I'm not a dog person. I'm like, who are you? You don't like unconditional love? Who broke you?
Right.
Dogs are the best. I couldn't imagine like being allergic to dogs or something and like couldn't have a dog. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like the house would be empty. I'd have to talk to my wife.
You have to talk to your wife.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
All right. I think that's going to do it for today. I want to thank Cornman and my lord, the guitar horse, for joining me, talk about dogs, talk about a life embossed. And I will say to both of you, eat shit and go fuck yourselves. And all the listeners can eat shit and go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
But they're not going to hear it because nobody watches these episodes anyway. But we'll be back with Rody, and we'll go from there. But thank you guys. I appreciate
That's fine.
it so much.
It's just nice being included.
It has been fun being on the last episode of this podcast.
That might be. Who knows?
Yeah,
You never know.
Corn and I are the death rattle of
That's
your
it.
podcast, Fritz.
That's it. That's fine. I would be honored. I'd be honored if that was the way it went out. Thank you, gentlemen. You can also pick a picture from your
As you see,